Good morning. I'm in a much better mood. Had a great night's sleep. So I'm in a much better mood. And today's topic is how we came to live off grid. So it's a little bit of a story time. Not so much how I do it, but how we have done it. Okay, so first let me say, I am not a prepper. I am not a survivalist, and I am not a separatist. I do believe in being prepared, and I do know I have learned how to survive, of course, and I have a big fear of people, but I am none of those. So, our story, and I've got it written down, so I'm going to refer to the writing of it so I don't forget any of the details, because it's kind of important. We lived in a really big city, and I homeschooled my children. When they were younger, I homeschooled them, and I had found this really wonderful program called the Powerhouse. And it was a science program, and I did all of my own curriculum for my kids. And when I found this lesson, it had 72 science lessons in it. And it was like, oh, wow, this is going to be really neat. And it was hands-on. It had models for making a house, building a house, and it had models for all the different lessons had little things so that you could, do the experiments and do it along with the story. And the whole story was about a family on an island that had the basic structure of a house and a dump site, and that's all they had. And so they had to learn about refrigeration, and they had to learn about solar and wind and water power and how to heat and cool and how to garden and what best placement of windows and all of this really interesting things. And so it took up the whole year doing these 72 lessons. And my kids were quite young. Excuse me. Weird. They were quite young, and when we finished at the end of the year, they came to us and said, "Mommy, can we do this for real?" And it was like, maybe someday. It was like, wow, that would be fun to do for real, but right now we can't. And so that's where our adventure really started, was right there, when my kids asked if we could do it for real. And it kind of just played in the back of my mind, and as they grew up and everything, I kind of researched what it would be like and some of the things that you would need to know and stuff. And I feel like I'm on a burp or cough. How weird. So anyway, a little while longer, my husband was in a really, really bad accident. And we bought a home in the city, and we were fixing it up and everything to keep him busy and help him know that he's still providing for the family and everything. And our dream had pretty much all but died. It was kind of just died and everything. But when the settlement came in, it was like, oh, my kids were teenagers at this time. By this time, my kids are teenagers. And it's like, well, they had asked about it, but do they still really want to do it? They're teenagers now. And so we went to them and we sat down with the family and we said, do you still want to do this experiment? Do you still want to go try to live off grid and do the experiment? And the whole point of it was, can you buy a piece of property, build it up, and become 80 to 90% self-sustainable? That was the whole experiment of it. And so they said, yeah. Yeah, Mom, we want it. We want it really bad. We do want it. And so I said, okay. We started looking around, and we looked at several different pieces of property, and then they had to have certain things, water accessibility, certain amount of days of sunlight, all of that kind of stuff, because we want to set ourselves up to the best ability as we could. And so we finally moved to Nevada. And we have been here for 7 years, and we very slowly have made this place our home. When we got here, most of us just fell in love with it. And so our first summer here was an amazing time. We learned a really, really lot. We lived in tents when we first came out here because it was just desert. And we started building up for the animals in the barn, and we started building our cob house, and we started working on a lot of things that summer, and um, yeah, we learned a lot of things. And so I'm going to tell you about 5 different things that we learned, and then you can tell me if you want to know more, or if you would like to, if you're interested in this thing. Um, One, we learned that government of any size, whether it be county, state, federal, it doesn't matter. They do not want people who are self-sustainable, because they can't control people who are self-sustainable. So people who are self-sustainable do not need government assistance. They don't need the government to be in their lives. If you'd like another a video on more about that, let me know in the comments. Secondly, we learned that things that we had priced and we had budgeted and prepared to spend out here were 2 and 3 times. A bale of straw out there, where we were when we researched it, bales of straw were $3. When we went to go buy bales of straw, we paid $12 a piece for them. Yeah, because building materials out there, it might be $1.50 for a 2x4, and out here it's 3 something for a 2x4. It was just exponentially more than what we had expected to pay. When we were researching out here, we researched the rainfall, we researched the amount of sunshine, we researched all of that. Nowhere did it warn us that we would have winds of 50 plus miles an hour. That first summer we were in tents. And mind you, we have a 2-room, 16-man tent with all of our suitcases, all of our totes, 2 great big mattresses, 3 great big mattresses in it, and the wind was still. One night we literally stayed up all night long trying to hold that tent down because the wind was trying to blow it away. The wind is strong out here. The wind has taken up a steel paneled corral and blew it over at my friend's house. It's taken the roof that was screwed on to the chicken coop and blew it off. Yeah, the high winds was nothing we expected. We did not know how hard it was going to be to get somebody to drill a domestic well out here. A domestic well out here, nobody wants to drill them. They'll drill commercial wells just fine. We are on one of the largest aquifers in the world, in the United States. One of the 3 largest aquifers in the United States. We are right on top of it. Water is less than 100 feet down, 100 to 150 feet down, and we can't get anybody to drill a domestic well for us. And the price that they want, when we researched it, it was $12 foot for drilling a well. They want $50 to $75 a foot out here to drill a well, which is ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Yeah, and yeah. The county out here refuses to give us a physical address unless we get a permit for a well or a septic tank, which neither we can do. That was another thing we learned. The clay level out here goes as far as 7 feet down. So putting a septic tank in for drainage, you'd have to go below that 7 feet into the gravel before you start your drainage. And putting a septic tank out here is like, okay, not exactly going to work. Anyway, the last thing that we learned that first summer was the temperature extremes. Okay, yes, we live in high desert. We expected there to be extreme heat in the summer. We expected that. It's desert. We expected it. You know? We expected it to get cold in the winter. Freezing. Maybe in the 5s or 10s. You know? But I did not expect it to go below 0. And I mean way below 0. Yeah, I thought it was going to be more like Tucson or Phoenix or some of the other areas I've lived in the desert. It gets cold at night, but it doesn't get super, super cold. And out here, we go below 0 pretty much at least 2 or 3 nights every winter, and sometimes 2 and 3 weeks. And we stay down there, and the first winter we were out here was really, really rough on us, and it was, I think, 28 below for over a week. I know it was over a week, but I don't know how much over a week it was. So, extreme temperatures, we were not expecting that kind of extreme temperatures. Not at all. So, we've learned, and that was our first year. That's why we moved out here. We're still working towards becoming self-sustainable. We have to get the well in before we can get the orchard in, and before we can buy the milk cows and stuff like that, because we had goats and we had llamas before the coyotes got them, and we were hauling water for them, and it's impossible to haul water enough for that kind of things. We still do have our chickens and our rabbits, but we had to get rid of the larger livestock until we get a larger well. And even my garden in the summertime, when I try to do my garden, and my garden doesn't take much water because I do a straw bale garden. It doesn't take a whole lot of water, but when you have to haul that water, yeah, it's difficult. So we have to get a well in before we can go a whole lot further in those areas. We are going to attempt, if the weather permits, this year. Last year it didn't warm up until late May. And usually we're able to get outside and start working in February and March. And we've had snow for the last 2 days. So, yeah, we don't know. We're hoping that in April we can start building the cabin. So, we did initially start to build a cob house. And we got it all the way to putting the cob on it. Planned on doing it the second year we were out here, and then we were told, stop, cease. You are not allowed to do this. And so all of our research said it was okay, but county said nope. And now, after we started taking it down, because we ceased, and we started taking it down, then the county comes out here and tells us, I don't know who told you that. It's like, okay, whatever. So we have another plan now. So that's the way it's gone. And that is my video for today. And I love each and every one of you. I hope that you would share with me some things that you've learned in your life in the last 5 or 6 years. Share in the comments if you want to know more, or if you're interested in this type of video. If you're not interested, I don't want to do them for you, but I'm willing to share the stories if you're interested in them. But until next time, I love each and every one of you. Have a wonderful day. And remember, if you get in a place like I was yesterday, morning always comes, and then it's brighter and it's sunshiny again. Love you until then. Bye-bye.